Uh, Good evening, all. So, today today we are going to start a new topic that we have not yet tried our hand in this subject. It is common for all the streams, but still we need to have a. I mean, though you might have heard many classes on this subject, but still from our side, I'm going to take few classes on it. It is something very easy for you compared to other mechanical subjects like manufacturing or fluid mechanics, whatever you learn. So, environmental science and disaster management. So, the word environment, uh, the surrounding that you live is the environment. So, when you are in a village, you live the surrounding that you live is its environment. Suppose you go to a college, come to a college, and that's where you study or live. That's your environment. And if there is a factory, if there is a company which produces something, that's the environment outside that company is the environment for that. And it's a very common word. I will just glance through the syllabus, so that will help you to get a clarity. So basically, the first model that we are going to take is renewable and non-renewable resources. So, and the second module comes understand the components of various types of ecosystem and interrelation between the components. And the module 3 is pollution, environmental pollution, and module 4 is hazards, disasters, and mitigation measures. So the module 4 is something very important when it comes to from a mechanical point of view. Other things are very common. You might have heard these things 100 times on the newspapers and in the seminars, in the visual media, social media, whatever you go. So you might have heard all these things. Also, this is just a brush up the things, and it is a mandatory subject for all the people who pursue the diploma. Okay, so let's start with the first module. So, what exactly the first module says? Natural resources and its associated problems, forest resources and water resources. So, they're natural. What are natural resources? So, all resource comes from nature, right? So, what you from the morning till evening, whatever you do, everything like you take the fuel which comes from nature, you take the cloth, it comes from nature, the paper comes from nature, the whatever you take, the food comes from the nature. So nature basically gives you the complete set of the things you need. So basically nature is your indefinite, infinite, and not infinite, infinite source of resource. So, but what exactly? I mean, does this an infinite source really? No, it can go bad, right? If you're not using the things, the resources wisely, it can really go bad. It can. I mean, you may not have a proper resource for the upcoming generations to live. So we need to preserve something. First of all, we need to understand what exactly is that. For example, I want to preserve forest, that I would like to preserve forest. So you need to know what is the importance of the forest in your society, in your if you take an environment as a subset. So what exactly is the role of forest in it? So then you will understand what will happen to deforestation. Deforestation, if you do, what are the cases, what are the side effects which comes, and what are the reasons for deforestation. So let's see first of all few basic things, and then step into the subject. The environment. You have this textbook with you. It's by Ayla Subramaniam. You will get it from Radiant Publishing House, and you will have a lot of material on this. No need to rely on a text only. So the word environment is from it's environment. Environment. You can say environment. It's environ is surrounding, and we say Paristiti, Parivaran, Paryavaran, whatever. Mm. So that's basically what we discussed, and we know. Okay, so that's not from the syllabus. It's atmosphere, no? We might have heard about atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure is something like the atmosphere exerts on everything in the earth, no? Now, our Earth, I mean, it's a spherical shape, so it has 6,000 something of diameter, a radius. Then you have an atmosphere above it, so that will be like 20 kilometers, like 16 kilometer basically. Uh, it is there, atmosphere is there, but this 80% of the atmosphere gases are held by gravity. The Earth attracts everything, so it attracts uh, gases also, and it is stuck into it. So just compare 6,400 to 20 kilometers. So it's just like an apple with a skin. So that's it. Everything happens within this 20 kilometer. All your war, all your fight, all the flight, and all your missiles, all your shouting, all your love, everything happens in this 20 kilometer skin. So basically, what is air? Air is basically 78 percentage of nitrogen, and nitrogen is an inert gas, means it won't react with anything. And then 21, almost 20.9, that's precisely 20.9 or 21 percentage of oxygen. And then come argon, that's another guy who is an inert gas, won't react with anyone. It's almost 1 percentage. And then carbon dioxide 0.03. So in this, two guys are very important, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Nitrogen and argon is not going to react with anyone, it's going to be silent partner. So when you breathe air, you're not taking oxygen, you're taking air, and then oxygen is being absorbed by your system, and then people used to say, no, you take oxygen and leave carbon dioxide. No, you're taking air and you're leaving air. So from the content that you, for example, you absorb, you breathe 1 kg of air, in that 200 grams, 1000 grams is 201 gram is oxygen in it. So you will take a part of it and then leave other things by outside. So that's your breathe out. So that's how the air going, and what we talk in the coming modules are carbon dioxide, global warming. So global warming is basically the increase of carbon dioxide. It's not decrease of oxygen which creates the global warming. It creates an increase of carbon dioxide. So you just ever think that evening, no, you have sunlight in the daytime, so you get heat, and in the night you don't have sun. So let's say at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So after sunset, the sunset happens at 6 p.m. And after 4 hours, you will have still not that bad climate. No, it will be if you have 30-degree in the night, let's say 11, you will have some 25, 26. So what keeps you warm even without a source, light source? So that's something carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide act as an umbrella which prevents all the heat to be preserved within it. So basically, the emission which happens from Earth, the emitted heat is being preserved by carbon dioxide. So what will happen if carbon dioxide will be more? If carbon dioxide content goes up, what will happen is it will preserve more heat, and you will have very hot temperature. So it's basically warming. So you're warming you consider as an earth as a room, you're going to warm it actually using carbon dioxide. So it's very sensitive thing, and though it's in volume by 0.03, but a minor increase may create huge impact on us. So basically, Earth has divided, atmosphere is divided into hydrosphere, lithosphere, biosphere. Those things you can just read. Also, it's a basic thing. Hydrosphere is where you have water. Lithosphere is from where you get all the uh, minerals, and biosphere is where you have the life. And okay, so these are the environmental problems that we are going to study in this course. One is air related, that's air pollution, and that's climate change, ozone depletion, greenhouse gases. The greenhouse, what I said, you will have more carbon dioxide, you will have heating, and then acid rains, blah blah blah. And then water related, water sedimentation, toxic chemical mixing. You must be seeing, sometimes you will looking at into river, you will be so worried about the condition of water. And soil related, soil erosion, very important, and soil sterilization, waterlogging, solid waste, hazardous waste. You throw some solid waste, it's going to pollute the soil. And biodiversity is something like extinction, how bad the condition of few animals in Earth. For example, elephant. Elephant is in extinct condition now. You don't find much elephants in forest these days, and even tiger. We have a project tiger, which is happening because tiger is not getting balanced. I mean, the number of tigers are not enough as per our forest cover. Now then comes to resources. Wow. Earlier I said whatever you use in your day-to-day life, which is being provided by nature. Let it be. You'll be thinking, plastic. Plastic. How plastic is being given by nature? Plastic is a synthetic, no? No. Though it is not directly obtained from nature, but plastic is basically a byproduct of crude oil. Crude oil is something you take from earth. So basically, it's all natural. No, you cannot create something from water. You can, but still, it will be a subproduct of something from. It will be a secondary product from nature or earth. So renewable and non-renewable means that the resource which are like not ending is called renewable. For example, wind energy. Wind will be there always. It's not going to end. No, your temperature changes, your air flows, and that creates an energy. Which are non-renewable. For example. The crude, all fossil fuels are non-renewable. One or the other day, it's going to end. So basically, all the fossil deposition in the earth, which get converted into oil and gas, is going to end one day for sure. The renewable is also one day it should end. Everything should end. In that respect, renewable is also a subjective word. But still, we are counting in terms of, let's say, thousands of years, so it's not going to end. So, river, forest, plant, animal, these are all renewable, no? Wind, all those things. Coal, petroleum, all fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, oil, natural gas, everything is coming as non-renewable. It's not going to be renewed. So, let's say forest. Let's come back to forest. What we say, forest is when we say forest, what if you take from Earth perspective? Forest is the Earth's lung, no? It's where the Earth. If it's a person, forest it's its lung. So basically, forests have a lot of advantages that, from human point of view, they are the most important renewable resource. So it has its importance. You will be thinking, how does it matter? For example, you are living in Todupura and there is a forest somewhere in Idiki. So how does it help you? So it has numerous effects on your day-to-day life. For example, you get fresh air, you'll get water, you will get a lot of resources, you'll get food, you will have a lot of things that a person needs in very right next to your home. So forest is something which it's like an upstream which helps. For example, if you are looking up for a groundwater content is increased by the presence of forest. So your oxygen level in the place you live is influenced by the presence of uh, trees. Basically, trees take carbon dioxide for its food preparation and then vomit. It send back oxygen to the atmosphere. So basically, it does both. The trees do breathe like us. It consumes oxygen and send back carbon dioxide. So it does both the process, but the amount of oxygen it produces outside is more than the amount of carbon dioxide it sends outside. So basically, trees are the most vital part for a uh, consistent for consistent development and for day-to-day life. So if you take world, 26.6% of the forest land area is covered by forest. For example, if it is 100 acres is the world, and in that 27 acres are forest. So you can obviously see Europe has the most tree cover. So if you ever go to Google Maps and zoom out, you'll see a satellite picture view. So there you can see the green cover, how in the world the green cover is there. If you go to Middle East, you don't see almost any green cover forest areas. So that's another thing you need to have it in your mind how it's been distributed. If you look at Japan, Japan has the highest number of forest cover, 67%. Japan is a small country. Still, there are a lot of people living in Japan, but Japan, most of the people lives in cities, and 67% of the country is forest. Indonesia is another country where forest presence is too much more, but that's a country where deforestation happens on a heavy scale. And apart from Indonesia, another place is Brazil. You might have heard a lot of news, no? How bad the Amazon forest in South America, in Brazil, was being burned. You know? So that's another country. And India, it was 15. It was earlier 19.27. Now it's 15.7. You'll have a lot of encroachment happening. Almost same to China. It's 14.3. So one of the reasons is the population. These two countries are the most populated countries in the world. So proportionally, you will have less forest cover in these countries. So what is ecological importance? Almost, see, in Earth, 50 to 90% of the species lives in forest. Very less animals you will see in the day in outside, but like few birds, dogs, cats, those varieties of lizard or some insects. Remaining all major part of the life species lives in forest. And another importance is balancing oxygen. I already said this. And earth temperature is being maintained by it is not exactly completely by tree, but a major part of it done by trees actually. So it helps in the precipitation, so local precipitation. So when you have rain, not fully, the rain is not fully completely from the trees, but it has an influence on it. So vegetation, so you will see the ecology you see outside is greatly derived helped by forests actually. Forest acts as a windshield and it is reduce the impacts of disaster. You might be seeing cyclones, no? Cyclones at the speed of 200 kilometers per hour in the sea. When it touches the land, it reduces the speed because when it touches the land, when it hit the tree, the tree works as a shield, no? Then it reduces the airflow. So, for example, you have a strong airflow coming from the sea, and it pierces through the forest, and the wind gets slowed down actually. So basically, cyclone effect we don't have much because of forest, and of course the flood because the forest acts as a reservoir for water. Another economic importance, all these things wood will get from economic. I mean, forest industry is one of the biggest industries in the world. You will have wood, timber, not just wood and timber. You will have fruits, nuts, spices, honey, tamarind, a lot of drugs, hundreds of drugs, herbs, almost all Ayurvedic drugs, and a lot of other types of drugs. You get it from forests. And bamboos used for paper, the paper you read, and walking sticks, ropes, everything. Waxes, a lot of resins, waxes, dyes, tanning materials, everything comes from forest. So forest has got a lot of economic importance. So now comes the sad part, that's deforestation. Deforestation is the scale of removal of forest. So you'll have forest and forest gets removed from. You can see, it's a good picture. It's like the lungs. So the forests are the lungs of Earth. So it's getting chipped off. So basically, what is deforestation is clearing the Earth's forest in a massive scale. You're going to cut a lot of forest. That's called deforestation. Why do you cut? Agricultural activity. So you basically cut the trees and do the agriculture. Logging, wood logging, and because you use the wood for furniture and other things, industries, everything. Urbanization is one of the major reasons for deforestation in India because the our cities are getting bigger, so bigger and bigger. So it is at what cost? It is at the cost of forests. Desertification is like lack of rain, a lot of rain you need. Your climate change happens. The places where you get steady rainflow doesn't get the rain on time, so which creates the deserts. So another thing is mining. You might have read a lot of mining happening on the Eastern Ghats and Western Ghat area. So basically, forests are the huge depository for a lot of minerals. So mining can very badly affect forest. And another thing is forest fire. Forest fire, you hear this now in all summers. So basically, forest in summer get dried up. So a small spark can create the complete forest to burn like anything. So basically, a forest fire is a big threat. You might have heard one of the biggest fire happened last year in Australia. Major part of the country got fire because Australia is a country where around 90% of the area is desert, and you'll have a lot of dry places where very prone to catch fire. So these are all the causes of deforestation, and let's go for a case study. One of the case study is Chipko movement. You might have heard it in your school. Chipko means in Hindi में तो like you need to hug. Chipko means hug. You might have heard this guy's name, Sundarlal Bahuguna. He was a leader of Chipko movement. It's in 1970s. So basically, Garhwal section of Uttar Pradesh, and I think currently it's in Uttarakhand. So that time it was Uttar Pradesh, and a lot of it was in the valleys of Himalaya, and huge tree cutting was started, and people used to face a lot of problems because landslides, floods, and trees. I mean, forests are home for thousands of birds, no? So it's all going to die. It was dying actually. So when all these things goes to peak, so and with leadership of Sundarlal Bahuguna, many people, especially ladies, older people, kids, everyone comes out and started hugging the trees. So when it was a symbolic to keep trees along with you, close to your heart. So it became big movement from there, and in 1978, it was a big movement that women tied the sacred thread to the trees, and it was treating like a priest. So It was a big success, and many areas they would be able to prevent the wood logging and deforestation. And later, it was an Apiko movement was also there in Karnataka. In Kerala, we might have heard Silent Valley project. Silent Valley is one of the most, uh, the most oldest uh, vegetation in the earth. I would say it's older than Himalaya. So they were planning to have a 120 megawatt electric power projects. It's a long time back, and nowadays you cannot have 60 crores. You cannot create a 120 watt megawatt power project. So there were 1,000 hectares of forest were going to sunk. So people, many people joined together and they fight for this Iron Valley. And the NEPC, National Committee for Environment Planning and Coordination, has refused the plan, the proposal, and they they somehow saved that land. You must visit Silent Valley. Silent Valley is in Palakkad district, Kerala. So you can go there. I mean, Palakkad has got two sides. One is very dry areas, which is near to Chittoor and that area, but another area is like Silent Valley. Those areas, Manarkat, those areas are like close to Ooty, and then they are very green. Silent Valley is a very lush green area. That is two cases we saw. So basically, we have completed this part. We have seen use of overexploitation of forestation, mining, dams, case studies we saw. And the next thing is water resource. We'll see that in the next class, guys. Have a nice day and enjoy.